Another week, another Payday 3 dev diary for us to sink our teeth into, and this one is huge. 10 whole minutes dedicated to Payday 3's new combat systems that even discusses some concepts for the game that I haven't seen during my playtest. So let's dive into everything we can learn from dev diary number 3. Firstly, this esteemed bunch giving their thoughts were some of the nicest guys in the Starbreeze office and actually joined us for a heist or two, so I'm delighted to hear more from them about the systems they've designed for Payday 3. Immediately, they made it clear that whilst Payday 3 will borrow plenty from its predecessors, not trying to reinvent the wheel, it will absolutely have its own identity. They start by discussing the difficulties releasing with the game. For my own part, I have actually tested these difficulties, so can wade in here. I found normal to be quite frankly boring, and certainly not the challenge any veteran player will want to hop in on, although I can appreciate why it exists, as so much of leveling up your abilities in this game will be based on heist and map understanding, so it's a fine difficulty in terms of learning a heist, or just for basic accessibility. Hard and above though all felt perfect in the challenge they held. I went down on hard, which the devs are suggesting should be the basic comfort difficulty for leveling. Very hard is, as the name suggests, very hard, but will probably be manageable for more complete builds, and overkill requires all of your abilities and team play to actually make it through. The way this is scaled is by raising the enemy cap on the map, increasing special spawn rates alongside their accuracy and damage. Again, not by increasing their health, which is standardized across all difficulties, hopefully bringing a wider variety of weapons into the late game meta. I don't need to break down the gameplay quite as much as I have in the past, bearing in mind my recent videos, but you might be thinking this is a third previously unseen heist here, given the building site in the background, but based on the overhead Brooklyn Bridge, I do believe this is still the art gallery. Also, the Almendia van is another sighting of a company name we've seen crop up a fair bit in the early gameplay, suggesting it may in fact be lore relevant. The story of Payday 3 is already forming in my mind. One thing we also see a lot of here is hipfire. I have to admit, if you're using a decently accurate weapon, hipfire does seem mighty powerful as things stand, which is not a massive deviation from Payday 2. Another thing I don't believe I've mentioned previously is that all cop types will spawn on all difficulties, unlike Payday 2 where iconic enemies like the dozers are locked to higher difficulties. This is a really good change which should smooth out a player's progression through those difficulties and generally unify player experiences no matter what challenge it is you're seeking. At last, when my girlfriend gets her hands on Payday 3, it won't be like she's playing a completely different game to the rest of us. This dev diary also has a lot more behind the scenes footage in it, which I find fun to see. We can take a look at how mantling is programmed and functions, which is a key mobility skill now, seeing as movement has a lot more weight to it otherwise. This weightiness will also factor in your armor, weaponry, and loot you're carrying, again making sliding a more important function despite the game being only PvE. And for those of you asking about dodge, a new low weight movement speed build type can absolutely satisfy that itch, bearing in mind how cop accuracy works in Payday 3. At this point I would also like to point out our boy Bobblehead Bob with his magnificent beard, Martin Verne, who I haven't seen back in Payday 3 but surely needs a cameo. Martin discusses the intricacies of the new armor system, which is a point I've seen a few people worried about as it massively deviates from Payday 2's highly replenishable and arcadey resource. From my experience, this shouldn't be a concern as the new system is just different, not worse, and can still reward aggressive playstyles thanks to certain skills allowing some regeneration. As I've said before, I believe armor will be the meta build at launch, giving you access to more segmented armor, meaning more of a replenishable supply, but remember, once you lose a plate, it's gone until you find an armor bag. Health though is non-replenishable, so you grinder lovers in Payday 2 are going to have to realign your playstyle accordingly. Also, enemies like naders, the gas grenadiers, can directly target the health pool with the toxic gas clouds, meaning armor shouldn't be the be-all and end-all of any setup. I should also point out that this is a more recent version of the HUD with player icons on the side of the screen, which is clearly something the devs are toying with, just like Payday the Heist, although as I understand, even this one isn't close to being finalised. Here we get such a good look at Payday 3's special enemies. I also think it's interesting that snipers and shields are characterised as uncommon enemy types, meaning they likely have a higher spawn rate, which I'm fairly certain I can confirm from the many snipers I've shot down on Overkill, but at least these guys have been hard nerfed from their FaZe Clan status in Payday 2. We get what I believe is the first confirmed cloaker charge sound here, which, as I've mentioned before, just keeps pitching higher and higher until they've caught you, which will be, of course, a popular addition to every streamer's soundboard. I'm not sure I've said this enough, but these guys look amazing. They have the essence of their old design whilst also looking a little more gillied up, and carry these edgelord retractable batons on their wrists, which are their weapons of choice, seeking out your equipment and pouring acid over it to remove it from your resource pool. With their takedowns, I'd say they more closely resemble hunters from Left 4 Dead than ever before, dealing damage over the duration of their beating, with teammates being able to shoot them off you and not have to perform a revive if they're quick enough. Bulldozers are the next special we can get a proper look at, and these guys have some amazing animations in-game that I didn't even get a chance to see. The Bull Rush attack is a major gap closer for them, making the dozer much more mobile than ever before, but also comes with the ability to stun any heisters hit before following up with that deadly high fire rate shotgun from point blank. They can also kick you for the same effect, but I actually found that baiting dozers into these animations and dodging backwards was one of the best ways to take them down without eating too much damage in return. So for more agile and prepared heisters, these tools might just be double-edged swords. Mio also discusses how specials can be specifically built against, and I can give you a little insight into what he might be talking about here. For example, there's a skill called Disengage, I believe, allowing you to break a Zapper's Tase effect or Cloaker's takedown instantly, catching them completely off guard. Also, there's a skill that drastically increases the damage of the final shot in any magazine, which if used intelligently, can trivialize bulldozers and their much higher health pools. Next up are the naders. These guys create the gas pools as mentioned earlier, which deal sizable damage over time to your health pool, disrupt visibility and prevent you sprinting within them, acting as massive area denial tools. Mio also mentions that they carry flashbangs, which I can't confirm from my gameplay, but might suggest that gas isn't the only trick up their sleeves. The Zapper, which I'll forever be mislabeling as the Taser despite the trademark infringement, is also explained in a bit of further detail. Full transparency, outside of the shot mines they now lay, I think I was tased directly only once in my gameplay session, so they're not half as disruptive as what we're used to from Payday 2's taser enemies, but if they get you, they can get you good, as if you don't land a shot on them initially to break the link, they will fully stun you just like the Cloaker until a teammate helps you out. Again, actually being able to see the wire attached to you makes freeing yourself that bit easier though. We've been through it all before, but it's nice to hear the devs talk about this behaviour specifically, as shields are much more of a support unit now, not dealing a lot of damage with their handgun, but instead providing cover and distraction for regular units to group behind and push down heisters tactically. Trust me when I say this is pretty effective, and they really will go out of their way to protect their teammates, blocking grenades, even if it means exposing their backs to the heister. Definitely the most sympathetic and level-headed in terms of personality of all the special units. Now, just as key to combat as the enemies we'll be dealing with are the weapons we get the chance to wield, and you gun enthusiasts have a lot to go off from this gameplay and behind the scenes. If we slow this bad boy down, you can see a huge portion of the unmodified launch arsenal. Yes, I have paused and looked at everything on this test map screen, and the only thing I saw worth mentioning was this animation for Tased Gently, which I can only assume confirms some sort of a light BDSM in Payday 3. Another excellent feature is that all weapons will have a distinct and learnable spray pattern, meaning weapon affinity is absolutely going to be key. You might find a gun that you just love the feel of, and that'll be yours to level up and deck out as you please, even if it isn't the quote-unquote meta weapon. Touching on modifications though, as I've mentioned before, instead of being earned via some random card drop system, you'll level up your weapon by using it to unlock attachments, which then work similar to Payday 2's as they'll cover all aspects of the weapon's components. The way this is displayed is via a Call of Duty style bar chart system, which I personally would like to see built on in the future. You can also unlock experience for a weapon without using it in combat if you, for instance, stealth any heist. Purchasable presets are another great way to level up a weapon whilst using a more heavily modified version of it, which I spent a lot of time wielding during the playtest. These are very similar to Payday 2's exclusive sets added more recently, giving you a variant of a weapon with a unique look and pre-designed playstyle. This USA pump-action shotgun was a blast to use, and the decked-out AK was outright overpowered, so keep an eye out on these when the game first launches. Overkill weapons are also mentioned here. As of right now, it's just the Piglet grenade launcher and thermal scoped 50 cal sniper we have to choose between. There is so much promise to this system in my opinion, and from what we've seen so far, as it expands, I anticipate it to be where we find the likes of the RPG or minigun in the future, which are notoriously difficult to balance and make fun at the same time. I think on lower difficulties they may be ignored, bearing in mind how difficult and out the way they can be to recover, but on Overkill they're absolutely going to be essential for completion. Finally, we get some fresh new gameplay showcasing a couple of the unique stealth tools. As you can see, the ECM jammer is now a deployable tool that can be placed to take down a camera or disable the guard's comms for its duration, as well as another look at the mini camera, one of the coolest looking tools we've seen so far. We also see the stun tool in action, which will be the best option for loud only heisters, as it still retains its stun functionality when the cops get called in. Oh, and before I forget to mention it again, this is the new first aid kit model for anyone interested. Remember, these are not equipable deployables anymore, and are instead earned by trading civs, acting as mini health packs to keep you ticking over across a heist. All that said, for me this was by far the juiciest dev diary yet, although it's also the first one where I've been able to share my thoughts unabridged by any NDA, which has been nice. I think as the devs close off with themselves, combat at the moment in Payday 3 is the perfect platform to build from, adding harder difficulties, more special enemies, and a wider range of weapons in the future. As it stands though, I can't wait to get my hands on the game in September, and I'm really holding out hope for a playable beta sooner rather than later, so you can all get your hands on the game and truly see where I'm coming from. In any case, thanks a lot for watching this video, I'll see you all in the next one. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.